It was a busy time on the island of Sodor. The railway inspector was coming. Signals were checked. Platforms were scrubbed.
I'd say so. When a place is going to receive an audit, most people want the seal of approval so they can continue to work at the place they enjoy. This isn't the first time, though, since we saw a railway inspector. One was in No Joke for James of Season 3, and a bunch were in Harvey to the Rescue of Season 6. Except this time, this inspector was also coming for another reason.
This year he is to give a special prize to the best turned out engine, added the Fat Controller. So I want you all to look your best. A special prize? Puffed Thomas. I wonder if we could win, asked Percy. Pa.
Yeah, nothing else needs to be said about that response. With Emily, Gordon, and James there to hear the news, they felt they would be the ones to win. Percy was a tad discouraged, but Thomas helped by telling him it's what someone does that is more rewarding than looks, which he is absolutely right about.
That afternoon, Thomas and Percy arrived at the quarry. But as the stone was loaded onto the trucks, a big cloud of stone whooshed down and landed right on top of Thomas. Yuck!
Okay, who was the bonehead who decided to back Thomas right underneath a chute from the hopper? You know that was bound to happen. This made Percy begin to worry again. Thankfully, Thomas told him to remain calm. All he had to do was just get a washdown.
I need to get clean for the inspection. There's no need for you to get clean, said Emily. I'm going to be the grandest engine there. I'll still win first prize, Thomas huffed, and he steamed off to help Percy.
Well, I won't lie, Emily is grand looking, but it didn't look like she was far from done. A little water and she would have been ready to go. Besides, what was she doing today? Was she even assigned work? However, once the railway inspector arrived, Thomas then began to get nervous too.
So Thomas raced back to the washdown. When Thomas got to the washdown, James was already there. I'm going to be the shiniest at the inspection, James sniffed. There's no point in you even being here. This made Thomas cross.
Definitely. I could see why, considering this is the second time round trying to get put into the washdown schedule. Isn't there more than one of these places, though? And I mean, James looked as red as a red delicious apple. But still, what did he do today so far? And unfortunately for both Thomas and Percy, they still had to work.
This time, Gordon was there. All done, Gordon puffed proudly. Thomas thought Gordon looked splendid. Then, James and Emily pulled into the station. They looked splendid too.
Yeah, those three have been getting clean all day. But I will admit, they sure look smart. Like they just came off the manufacturing line. Now, Thomas was feeling more like Percy. Worried and feeling beaten. Yet somehow Percy took Thomas's mantra from earlier and decided they should get washed anyway. Interesting switch these two did here.
Percy and Thomas were covered in soap suds. They were scoured and scrubbed and brushed and buffed. Percy loved being washed. But now Thomas was sad. He thought he would never look as grand as the other engines.
I wouldn't be too worried there, Thomas, old boy. What happened to your thoughts from before? Being really useful is more important than just looking good. And I could tell you who wasn't thinking that way, though. Emily, Gordon, and James. They were too busy trying to look good.
So James backed up. Suddenly he bumped into a truck. The truck rolled into a lever. Then there was a whooshing sound. Oh no! James puffed. Coal poured out everywhere.
Ha! Nice one there, Jamesy boy. With all the dust coming down, I can only imagine what you three will look like now. All that tough, leisure work, getting all dressed up, went straight down the tubes. And none the wiser would know, especially when the railway inspector came.
I've never seen so much coal dust. Just then, Gordon blew to clean his funnel. Coal dust shot into the air. It covered the Fat Controller and the railway inspector. Sorry, coughed Gordon. At last, Thomas and Percy arrived.
Yeah, okay, you're real sorry. Serves all three of you right for being all hoity-toity about things. Well, not totally, but they certainly didn't work their butts off like Percy and Thomas did. And because how well they worked, how well they looked, and a smidge of good timing, the railway inspector had no other choice but to give the two tankies an award. Wait a second. What about the other engines of Top Hat's fleet? This isn't fair at all.
Thomas and Percy beamed with pride. I'm glad you made me come to the inspection, puffed Thomas. It's just like you said, puffed Percy. A really useful engine can look as grand as any engine.
This is true. As Thomas has said, it's really based on someone's character more than just looks. Although I'm not sure if the railway inspector knew that. If James didn't cause the coal dust implosion and Percy and Thomas didn't visit the yard, would have the other three engines gotten the awards? It's possible. But in this universe where karma is an engine's biggest kryptonite, that's not going to happen. This was a funny episode though, and it had a good lesson about being true to oneself than just dressing to impress. Not that it isn't a bad thing to do, but not just because. The musical themes heard were pretty standard here. Thomas's theme is played as he fumbles back and forth between his work and the washdown. Even Gordon's theme is heard during one of the visits. The rest is all incidental music, and it's now beginning to sound more familiar since at some point the tunes will all be repeated. Locations were good too. The Farquhar Quarry is seen a couple times where Thomas and Percy get all filthy. The same could be said for the coaling plant where all three tenderheads get sooty too. Then there's Marin Station, which gets viewed from the other side this time, as well as showing us the washdown is right next to it. Oh, and did anyone notice the fact that Henry is pulling a passenger train with coaches? Yeah, so much for the wishing tree. Nice. Next episode is Edward the Great. Thanks for watching.